just to go deep and take a deep dive into life as a chiropractor and just shine a light on what it looks like to become a chiropractor and serve in the real world and really just uplift that next generation. I know that you do a lot of work for the profession and really just serving the students and serving the docs. So I just want to acknowledge and appreciate the work you've been doing. And I've been paying attention, and I'm just hoping that we can really bring that energy to the prospective student audience, because I think that it's really important to plant the seeds early and often. I think that those initial impressions are so crucial and so essential to
Oh,
set
yeah,
somebody on the right path.
absolutely. And I think it's important. And I appreciate you doing this. I think it's also important that prospective students actually what they're getting themselves into. You know, I see a lot. I see success and I see the failures, and a lot of times the failures are these kids going into a profession they know nothing about, thinking that well I can be a dentist, I can be a physical therapist, I can be a chiropractor, and that's not the reason to go into chiropractic. They need to have a better understanding of what they're getting ready to get into, and it's this is really important. So I appreciate this.
Absolutely. So, welcome pre-Chiro students. This is Dr. Ben. I'm a chiropractor, just connecting you in meaningful conversation with practicing chiropractors, people that are in the real world that have experience and that really just want to shine a light for you and help you in any way that we can by providing context of how we live and how we see things, and also just what it's like to be in practice. So, today we have Dr. Tim Young. Dr. Tim, I want to thank you so much for joining and sharing with the students. Can you just get us started by introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about what your background was and your upbringing and what attracted you to becoming a chiropractor?
Absolutely, thanks, Ben, and I'm honored to be here. And for all of you that listening, I've got quite a story. I'll try to keep my story short, so we're not here for 2 or 3 hours. But I Tim Young. I am in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I've been in practice. This is my 26th year in practice, and within chiropractic, there's not a whole lot I haven't done. But I started like many of you listening to this, not having a clue really what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. I had a little bit of a foot in the door that my uncle was a chiropractor down in Springfield, Missouri, in Southwest Missouri, and that's where I was raised. I was really raised in the hills of Missouri. I mean, we're not talking country. Country is what you drive through to get to where I was raised at. When you see you hear the word hillbilly, that's my family. But and I think about the fifth or sixth grade, we moved to Springfield from the hills. Um, and my uncle was a chiropractor, and I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know what that meant. Uncle Bill was a chiropractor. We'd go in and he'd pop your back, periodically. And then as I got a little older, I got into high school sports, football, wrestling, and those things. And I'd pull a rubber, I'd do this or do that, and I'd go see Uncle Bill, and he'd pop my back. That was pretty much the extent of it. I graduated and get graduated and I started bodybuilding. I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and again go see Doctor Uncle Bill whenever I needed something. But a huge turning point in my life, and this is this is what a lot of the entire profession, and I've spoke to college presidents about this and people throughout the profession for years. This profession, chiropractic, was built on a story. It was built on a story. The very first story was D.D. Palmer gave an adjustment to Harvey Lillard, a deaf janitor, and his hearing came back. Now, no one was there. No one witnessed it. There was no research papers. But that story is what created the painting behind me. I had commissioned. It was the first adjustments, my prized possessions. But I had a story because when I was 18 years old, after graduation, I just started bodybuilding. That fall, I think it was October, November. It was, something like that. I was involved in a serious car accident. I was riding with a guy that lost control of the car, and we actually went off of a bridge, and it landed on my side. I broke my back, a bunch of ribs. I shouldn't have walked away from it. By the grace of God, I when I look back and reflect on this, he had a bigger plan for me than that day. But that day was to shape and guide me in a lot of different ways. It broke my back, and so the orthopedic doctors, all of them did MRIs and all that stuff. And they said, well, your bodybuilding days are over, and you're going to probably limp for the rest of your life. This is a bad deal. Of course, I'm 18 years old. This is 19, I guess 19 at the time. This is devastating. 18. So I go see Uncle Bill. What you do? And Uncle Bill said, he had a few choice words, and he just said, face down. And he starts suggesting me. 6 weeks later, I'm back in the gym working out. 6 months later, I win Teenage Mr. Missouri. And I competed for 25, 26 years. Still wasn't going to be a chiropractor. That wasn't the moment, right? That was the moment that I think planted the seed. Like Ben, you were talking about planting seeds. That was the moment that planted the seed with me. But I had big plans. I decided that I was going to go into the Navy and be a Navy SEAL, and that was my whole world. Everything was about being a SEAL, and so I joined the Navy. I get through boot camp. I get through my first school. Then I go to Great Lake, Chicago, and I start my second school. But you have to get through certain schools, and then I start training to go into BUDS, basically BUDS training, the basic training for the SEALs. And as I was doing all this pre-training, I started having a lot of lower back pain. I'm 22 years old. I don't know anything about what I know now. All I know is my back hurts, and I'm struggling a little bit. And so I go see the Navy doctors, and they do all their tests and scans, and it comes back, and I get a message to go to the medical building. So 22 years old, 1988, 1989. I just figured that out yesterday. 1989. I'm standing in this building, 22 years old. Standing at parade rest, and this lady makes me wait 2 hours. And I finally get to her, and she pulls this chart out, this file, and she says, "Well, Seaman Young, we see here that you've got a problem. We don't know what it is, and they're recommending exploratory back surgery." Now, again, I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything. I'm going to be a SEAL. I'm going to be a soldier. But I knew somewhere inside of me that the words exploratory and back surgery should never be put together, ever. And I said, "No, ma'am, we're not going to do that." And she looked real confused. And I mean, this has been a long time ago, and I can picture it like it happened yesterday. She said, "Well, the only thing we can do is send you home." At that very moment, God laid His hand on my shoulder and said, "You're going to be a chiropractor." It was a knowing. It was a comfort. Man, I've yet to articulate the proper word of the feeling that I got. I knew this is my path had just changed like that. So
Mhm.
fast forward, I get out of the Navy. I move back home. I work until that January, start my undergrad, and I don't stop until I get my chiropractic degree. And it was a struggle. I'm not a student. I am not a sit in a classroom, take notes type of person. I'm an out in the middle of action type of guy. But again, um, there was a plan for me. So
Mhm.
26 years later, you know, we can get into a lot of different things, but my story was chiropractic changed my life. It gave me my life. It created an opportunity for me and a direction for me. But, and I lecture all across the world for you to listen to me. I'm not just a chiropractor. And I say this humbly. I hate talking like this because it sounds like I'm being, boastful, and I'm not, but I love the profession so deeply. I have a strong personal relationship with it. And for years, I've traveled throughout the world. I've been to so many different countries and working with chiropractic students and across our country with all the schools and working with chiropractic students and young doctors. And I will tell you that after all these years, I understand the profession in a little bit different way, but I do that because my story led me here. And, from starting with nothing, I mean, absolutely nothing. And that's, what we want to get into. I understand what everybody is going to go through. I know what the struggle is. I know how it is to be an associate doctor. And then, I came to the office one day and they changed the locks on my doors and I had nothing. I didn't have nothing. I had a new wife, two daughters, and a baby on the way with nothing. And so I went from nothing, a family to provide for, no job, no direction, no anything, to where I sit today in this monster house of mine. The life that I live is absolutely ridiculous. But there's a lot of things that kind of go along the way, and we can get into that, Ben. But for everyone listening, there's nothing that you will go through or could go through that I haven't been through. That I will tell you that if you understand this profession, if you fall in love with this profession and really go into it for the right reason, chiropractic is the one profession that I know that will give you back exactly what you put in. But it's not easy. It is work, Ben. And so that's kind of that's the short version right there.
Absolutely. I think there's a number of little things to, not little things, little big things to touch on in your story. One of which was you were told something by somebody else, and deeply inside, you could say innately, you told yourself something different, and you were listening more to that inner voice. You were at an intersection where somebody was telling you to go one direction, and you decided, no, that doesn't align with who I am. I'm going to go a different direction. And I think that that's really the moment that we're trying to key in on here for the prospective student. I think there's a lot of people out there that are being influenced by their mothers, fathers, teachers,
Yeah.
preachers, by their friends of go to nursing. It's a good job. It'll help you help people. And I got to tell you, I take care of a lot of nurses, and they don't seem very excited to wake up every day like I am and
No.
go into to serve the people that they serve. But I would love to you to just kind of talk about the importance of listening to your own voice and what you would recommend. Like, so you had said that it changed the course of your path when you decided you were going to become a chiropractor. You had to actually go to college, and it is important to acknowledge there is an academic side to becoming a chiropractor. It is a very rigorous training and intensive training, and that's actually preparing you for the real world because it is rigorous to be in the real world. But I would love for you to just kind of reflect on what you did do to prepare for chiropractic school. Did you just get through the classes and jump through the hoops, or did you go hang out with your uncle? And what did you pick up? What did you learn once you knew you were going to become a chiropractor, and having a resource like your uncle to touch in with and tap into what he was up to and what his recommendations for you were? Could you kind of act like that uncle for these pre-Chiro students and give some
Yeah.
recommendations?
So, what's interesting is, gosh, I've learned so much. It's a great question, Ben. I've learned so much, and so you touched on something that I live by, and this is something that most of you listening won't fully understand quite yet, but it will come to. But I will give you a preview of what we call innate intelligence, and that innate intelligence is the body's inborn knowing. If you cut your arm, you don't have to step there and go, okay, I need to produce platelets. I need to clot. I need. Your body does it. We're all sitting here right now and producing insulin. We're producing cortisol. We're producing testosterone. Producing all these things. Our bodies are doing it. It knows what it's doing. So, but it's also there's a guide. We are guided, and that inner voice that some people listen to or that are in tune to, and some people ignore. Sometimes the educated brain gets in the way and wants to ignore that. You can call it intuition. Well, there's all different names for it, but there's an inner knowing. Well, I've always, and I didn't even realize I did it, but I've always been, for whatever reason, a little bit in tune to that inner voice because, quite honestly, I wasn't the academic. I kind of guided myself off of that feeling, that intuition. We'll use that word for all of you now until you get a little more advanced with. But what's fascinating about that, Ben, is the question you're asking. Once I was called to be a chiropractor, and this is really important. You said it's a calling. It's not just a job. Chiropractic don't. I want to make sure you all understand this, and I'm the same way. You wouldn't believe 26 years. I've got babies that I adjusted in the hospital now bringing their babies to me. I've seen taking care of so many kids. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I mean, I have one of the highest volume practices in the world, so you guys got to understand it. It by 12:30 on Monday morning, I've already seen over 100 people. So I've seen thousands. In my career, and so many of these young people will come in my office and I'm going to be a nurse and I'm going to do this. And I always, man, broaden your scope a little bit. But here's what's important. Chiropractic is not the profession to go into if you're simply say, well, I could be a dentist, I could be a PT, I could be a massage therapist or a trainer. Well, maybe chiropractic. Chiropractic sounds good. You know what? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for you because, like Ben said, chiropractic school is tough. And I wasn't a student. I am not a good student, but I had a calling, and school was the step that I had to take to reach my calling. And so to prepare, I just went back to Southwest Missouri State. It's Missouri State South or something different now, but anyway, in Springfield, and I just went back to school. I mean, I had to get my uncle, he graduated from Cleveland Chiropractic School in Kansas City in 1966, and so I was just going to go to Cleveland. I never even looked at other schools. It wasn't a look at a debate. This is where I'm going to go. That's where he went. That's where I'm going to go. wasn't a whole lot of guidance from Uncle Bill. He graduated in '66. He's what we call an old hillbilly chiropractor. Man, this guy, after all the years of practice, he didn't even take X-rays. He didn't do exams. He just lay down and just, and he had a following. Oh my gosh! I mean, to this day, he passed, gosh, 10, 12 years ago, maybe 12. It's been 15 years ago now. It's going by so fast. But this day, you back to Springfield, and you mentioned chiropractor. I always used to see old Doc Miles. He had such a calling, but he never really guided me other than go to school.
Mhm.
In the country in the hills, we have a different code. You don't whine about it, don't complain about it. If you want to do something, go get it done. But I was the first one to ever graduate from anything in my family. I mean, it was just coming from the hills, just no one did this. But again, a calling, a pull, and so chiropractic school, gang. Listen, undergrad's one thing. You're all got to get undergrad. You got to get your basics out of the way, and so I got through my basics, and then, it was kind of interesting. So I went to school. I started school. I was in school when I had that car wreck, right? When I told you about, I'd already started, going to my getting my whatever. I didn't know why I was going to school. I needed to go to college, right? Well, when I broke my back, and I had to drop out of school, so I was 19 at the time, 18 at the time. Then I go back at 23. I've been in the Navy. I've been through so much, a little bit more mature, more prepared for this. Wasn't easy. Undergrad was not easy. But then I went from SMS and I go to Kansas City. I went to Park College. It was a pre-chiropractic program that I took, and then I CLEP tested out of some things. And I was on a mission to get through. The school wasn't anything that I enjoyed at all. But it was a necessary evil to get through. But for all of you living, and I graduated in '93, so things have changed. My daughter just graduated a few years ago, and she's killing it right now. But again, she was called. It was in her to be a chiropractor. She didn't go because Dad did it. She went because it was in her, and it was in me. And you gotta understand a little bit. When you go to chiropractic school, and you're going to go through the undergrad, and you're going to go through the chiropractic program, which is tough. It's not easy at all. And then once you get through school, then you got to take all these board tests, and good luck with all that. But this is what I told my daughter when she called me with the meltdowns. Dad, it's so hard. She failed a couple classes and she had struggles, and I told her, and I've told every chiropractic student this. I'm going to tell you all this. There's going to come a day. There will come a day that a mother is going to drive across town with her sick baby. And that baby is going to be screaming and crying the entire way. It's her first baby. She doesn't know what to do. She's been to the pediatrician. She's been here. She's been there. And she's going to walk into your office, and she's going to hand that baby to you and say, please help my baby. It is one of the greatest honors that you will ever receive. But that honor has to be earned. Everything about being a chiropractor you will earn. It was not given to you. There is not an easy road to this path at all. You will earn every single step. And when you're able to take your hands, because of your heart, your understanding, and your knowledge of what chiropractic is and what it's not, and you can take your hands, your little thumbs, and you make an adjustment on a baby, you do a colic technique or whatever it may be, and that baby quits crying, that baby sleeps all night, and that mother's life is changed, you then receive the gift that chiropractic gives. But that's the honor that you receive, but it's earned. Don't ever think for a minute that. And here's the thing, gang. I need you all to understand this because I know many of you are sitting there and go, straight A student. Yep. And the top four in my class, the valedictorian, the cum laude, all that Greek stuff that you talk about, the top four, out of those four, there's only one still practicing. The top three failed in practice. It doesn't matter how academically smart you are. It matters on how much you understand what it is that you're doing. You understand your profession. You understand the depth of when you lay hands on someone, what's going on. And I think for now, for all of you that are prospective students and thinking about it, that's something you want to spend time with. You want to spend time with actually what is the profession. It's not just popping backs. It's not being just a doctor, and it's not physical therapy. You need to understand what it is you're doing. So if you have a deep understanding and then it resonates with you, then I think your path is then once it resonates with you, then the school is just a step, right? I was called. I had no idea what chiropractic was, Ben. Bill popped my back. There was no
Mhm,
guidance. He didn't talk philosophy to me. He didn't break it down. Go to school, right?
mhm, mhm,
I learned it along the way,
mhm.
and this is important for. It's so important for me to for you guys to understand this, man. I was called, so I got through school because this was my mission. This was my path. If you're not feeling that, find out what the profession is, spend some time with it. Then if it resonates, go, yeah, this makes sense. This is who I want to be. Then school is not quite as hard because now you have it's a necessary step to get to your end goal. So I think
Mhm.
I hope that answered the question that you wanted me to kind of hit on.
Yeah, and I think that the key message you're sharing right there is that you could get straight A's and not be the best chiropractor that you set out to be when you signed up to go to chiropractic school. That
Absolutely.
really the chiropractic curriculum is getting you a degree, it's getting you a license to practice, but it's not really teaching you how to become a chiropractor.
No.
And that's unfortunate. That's a sad piece. But those leaders in the profession decades ago really designed a parallel curriculum in the form of seminars, in the form now of online trainings. And the reason why I'm introducing pre-Chiro students to you is because you've taken the time and cared enough about the other chiropractors that you see that might be struggling, might not be struggling, but might just need some support and some inspiration to stretch their mind of what's possible and go a little bit beyond where they're currently at. And so, as a prospective student, I'm really happy to introduce them to you because I think you've designed some trainings, and I'm hoping if you could go into some detail on what a parallel curriculum for a chiropractic student could look like so that they're really training in the art, science, philosophy, but also business and communication of what it looks like to practice chiropractic, what it looks like to communicate and connect with others, but also maybe just touch on the details and the subtleties and how do you master your technique? How do you really focus your mind and develop your mindset for training to become a successful practice owner, to become a successful chiropractor in your community? Can you just kind of touch on the details of that?
Absolutely. And I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to say this out of respect, and I want you all to understand that I come from this opinion of mine or this perspective of mine comes from years and years and years of working with chiropractic students and working with the schools. So there are several chiropractic schools in the country and in the world, but you know if you're listening to this in the United States, there are several chiropractic schools, right? And this is more than you all really need to know right now, but I think it is that you brought this up, Ben. I think it's important for everyone to understand. So a school is a school. A school is a business, and it doesn't matter if it didn't matter if it's a state university or a junior college or a chiropractic school. They run a business, and what has happened through the course of many many years, you know, since 1895, you know, Palmer was the first school. Then there's been other schools branch out, and what they do is they take the principle or the philosophy of chiropractic and they kind of slightly tweak it to fit whatever doctor who started the school or whatever entity started the school, their perspective on it. So this is kind of what's happened. So we have all these schools now. Depending on where you live, you're going to decide on what school you want to go to. I'm going to recommend three, but it doesn't matter what school you go to. They're all pretty much, for the most part, the same way. But you guys all need to understand something. A school is a business, and they've got to have teachers. And the teachers that are teaching in chiropractic school, for the most part, I was very fortunate. I had a successful chiropractor that moved here from South Africa that went to that start decided to move here, and he was called to teach. He didn't have to. He was called to, and thank God for him because I would have never learned what true chiropractic was. Dr. Hugo Gibson, he's retired. He's practicing. He's damn near 80 years old, still practicing, but he doesn't teach anymore. But I had that teacher. But for the most part, you all need to understand this. You're going to have professors. You're going to have people that will, your doctors are going to teach you, you know, all the physiology and the anatomy and the chemistries and all the things that you've got to know. But the unfortunate side of this, it's a necessary evil because we got to have somebody teach it, right? Chiropractors get out of school and they don't do well. They never learn what I'm talking to you guys about the true purpose of chiropractic. They didn't get it. They didn't get it, and so then they fail in practice. Right? It just happens. Well, now they need a job. Well, the schools will hire them back to teach. So the unfortunate part of chiropractic school is, in most of these schools, is that you're going to have professors and teachers teach you their version of chiropractic, and that they want you to see their side of it. The problem with that is they fail. They didn't make it in the profession. So you have to go to school. You have to get your degree. You have to pass your classes. This is a part of the world we live in. But you're not really going to learn business because think about it. We've got failing chiropractors teaching business. We got failing chiropractors teaching technique. We got failing chiropractors teaching philosophy. You still got to do it. Thank God for them, because if we didn't have them, we wouldn't have a school. So I'm not bashing them. I'm just giving you a very real world perspective, because you're going to hear one thing from me, or many of you may have family members that are chiropractors. Like my daughter, she already knew what it was, and she's like, Dad, you wouldn't believe what they're telling us. I know it's not true. Well, it's true in their world. So with the parallel, what Ben was talking about, this is why I started this. I started working with students years ago and young doctors just because I love the profession so much. I was like, I mean, I was becoming so successful within this profession, but I didn't understand why everybody wasn't. It's like, why we should all be having $1 million practice. Why not? I mean, all I'm doing is what I was told to do is move the bone, get out of the way, let the body heal. I mean, it's not that complicated, but everybody wants to make it complicated, and people were failing chiropractors, and I can't stand it. It's like they're not getting the message. So there's so many seminars. I started this focus. I started this. This is our 12th year, and it's a big weekend seminar. And what I do is I bring in chiropractors from all over the world to teach their perspective. Now, these chiropractors are successful. They're successful in business, successful in technique, successful in all the areas that make a true chiropractor. And so I bring them in to teach. So the prospective students will hear a message of what it really is, not the learning institution's message. It's a complete different paradigm. But it's that way in any profession. Dentistry, I hear this with my dentist friends. I hear that with my PT friends. It's like you're going to get the school version because they've got a certain curriculum that they've got to get you through for accreditation and all that. But then when you step out in the real world, everything changes. Everything changes. And if somebody's got to be able to teach you the real world. And so there are instructors all across the country, John Minardi and Brad Glowacki. And I mean, I can go on and on and on. There's a seminar in California called CalJam. A Mile High is there's another one. Cairo Fest. There's seminars, and this has been going on since Lyceum. That been back. The very first chiropractor. D.D. Palmer, his son was B.J. Palmer. B.J. started a huge seminar called Lyceum every year, and this was back in like the early teens, 1918, 1919, 1920, and people would get in like horse and buggies and the first cars and go across the country, take 4 or 5 days to get to Davenport, Iowa, to stand under a tent in the middle of a cornfield to listen to the chiropractic message because it's so powerful. And we have that still yet today, but you have to search for it. And your technique, you're not going to get, chiropractic is about the adjustment. Okay? You need to understand this. You're going to hear a lot of things throughout your career. If you decide to go down this path, you're going to hear a lot of things. Chiropractic is nutrition. Chiropractic is therapy. Chiropractic is all these things. Functional medicine is the whole new thing. Really what it boils down to is that the actual technique of the chiropractic adjustment has been somewhat watered down through the years because it's hard. It's not easy to learn. You have to pay attention. It's like anything else. If you're going to learn to play the piano, you got to practice. You got to work daily. And the chiropractic technique and the adjustment is exactly the same thing. But the problem is so many academics, they want to learn, the academic part of it, but they don't want to put in the work to do the physical part. Chiropractic is physical. I promise you it's physical. It's hard work. And you may have that, 6-week-old baby come in and your little thumbs. And then the next patient walk in, he's 6'5", 345 pounds. He's a freaking monster and he's got a bad lower back. Well, the lower back, spine that is about this much tissue on top of it. You're going to know how to move that bone. All right. Well, the problem is nobody wants to have to work that hard. And so there's a work ethic behind chiropractic. But, what you're alluding to, Ben, is like, look, school is one thing. There's a lot of schools out there. Life at Atlanta, Georgia is one of the best ones. Sherman in North Carolina is a great one. And there's Life West out in California. So those are the ones I'm going to recommend. Really, the thing is, you're not going to learn chiropractic in school. You'll learn what you need to get a chiropractic degree, but then it's going to be on you to get out. And I would even say, even right now, I'll give you a perfect example if you don't mind, Ben. I'll tell a real quick story. So Focus, my chiropractic seminar, this has been about 6 years ago. It- There's 800 people there from all over, and a doctor come from another state, and he brought his two CAs with him. The CA is a chiropractic assistant, young girls. I think they were 19, 20, 21 years old. They didn't want to come to this chiropractic seminar. They didn't want to come. This is their weekend. They're young girls. They just work in an office, right? So they bring their boyfriends with them. So they didn't have to sit there by themselves all weekend. So they sat in the very back row, and it's a huge auditorium. Fast forward, the following year, they come up and found me. They said, Dr. Young, we need to tell you something. We were here last year, the four of us. We sat in the back row because we didn't want to be here. They told me this whole story. But what we want to tell you is all four of us are in chiropractic school right now. Even the boyfriends heard the message and they went to chiropractic school. So right now, as you're even thinking about being a chiropractor, it is so important that you look for these seminars, you look for these chiropractic entities, you look for the chiropractors that are actually out there doing. That's how you're going to learn the message. That's how you're going to understand the profession that you're getting into. Because if you just go online and read them and read about what the school curriculum is, that's not going to serve you once you get out into the profession. I talk to young doctors every single day, right here where I'm sitting with this thing on, and doc, we don't know what to do. They didn't prepare us. Well, Ben, you brought up a very great point. Um, no one's coming to save you. I'm just I can't, I have to be bluntly honest with you because you're getting ready to go and spend a lot of time in school, spend a lot of money for school, and I want you to get out and be successful. So before you even go, you better understand what it is you're going to, and if you do, sky's the limit. I mean, I'm a living example. I come from the hills, Missouri, to where I'm living at now. The how I live and my lifestyle and what I get to do is absolutely ridiculous. I get up every morning, start laughing, and I have a lot of friends that way. I know a lot of chiropractors that make over $1 million a year, and they we work 3 days a week, and they just live a lifestyle that you can't imagine. And what you said, Ben, get up every morning absolutely in love with what we do. But I didn't find it in school. I had one good teacher. I got it outside of school. I started listening to the old chiropractors, DeMartini, Reggie Gold, Sigafus. Man, I was constantly putting this stuff in my brain, and that's really what. And then I got a coach. I got a chiropractic coach, someone that was hugely successful in chiropractic that started a coaching group. Then I was asked to join. I joined that group, and I listened to somebody that was actually making $1 million a year. You know,
Mm-hmm.
been out, being a bodybuilder. I'll give you guys an example, then I'll shut up for a second. When I decided to be a bodybuilder, I was 5'11", almost 150 pounds, and I was told that you're never going to do it. That you don't have it in you. You're going to quit. Blah blah blah. I have this personality. If you tell me I can't do something, hell or high water, it's going to happen. Well, what did I do? I go to the local Gold's Gym by my house, and I walk in, the skinny teenage kid, and I find the biggest guy in the gym. I'll never forget him, Timmy Miles. He was Mr. Springfield, getting ready to compete for Mr. Missouri. Back then, this guy was a monster of a human being. And I got right in his back pocket. Every time he turned around, I'm standing there, I'm watching him train. I'm asking him questions. Will you work out with me? Will you do this? Will you do that? I like to drove that guy completely crazy until I beat him on stage. Um, you know, so that's what you do. You find successful people in your field, truly successful, and you do what they do. You listen to what they say. You follow that path. You're going to have to listen to unsuccessful people to get your degree, but you want to find successful people to do what they do. And that's probably the best analogy I can give, man.
100%. That's really great advice. And we live right now in a TikTok attention span culture where
Yeah.
students don't really have the bandwidth per se. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe they just have a lot of pressure on them to do a number of different things. There's a lot of responsibilities on kids' shoulders nowadays, and not even kids, but just people changing careers and have families. We have to really take into consideration who our audience is that we're really sharing this message with. And I was wondering if, we could really outline a specific detailed training, not necessarily getting into details like you have to do this, this, and this. Maybe we want to get that far, but I really want to give students some resources that you believe are great resources to study the art, science, and philosophy of chiropractic, and just really bathe their mind in chiropractic. Because you had mentioned a couple of things that I'm, to be quite honest, challenging and trying to really shift the consciousness around, which is that you can't become a chiropractor in school, that you're not, that school's not going to prepare you for the real world. And I think that if we create a pre-chiro trajectory that really gets them experiencing chiropractic in the real world and sets the tone, that when they get to chiropractic school, they're going to be seeking those experiences out. They're going to be seeking to train like they were training before chiropractic school, and it's going to set good fundamentals and good rhythms in their life. And I'm just curious, what are some of the fundamental rhythms that you have in your life that allows you to keep refining, keep getting a little bit better, keep developing yourself in the context of being a chiropractor?
Well, it's a little different for me because I get to do it every day. It's like I live in chiropractic. That's my whole world. And so every time I go to the office and make an adjustment and I see the result, I see the miracles. I witness it. Good night. I could sit here and talk about chiropractic miracles for the next 10 days if we really wanted to go down that road. But for the students, and I know and I don't want to. I'm not trying to paint a negative picture. I'm just trying to be realistic with you guys and be honest. Um, Schools are not going to teach you to be a successful chiropractor. They're not. And here's the thing: if you ask them, they'll tell you that's not their job. Their job is not to create a successful chiropractor. Their job is to get you a chiropractic degree and get you to pass boards. And then now it's your job to go out and be a successful chiropractor. So right now, the things that you can do to start preparing yourself is, I could give you a list of things to read, but I think it's going to be over your head. It's going to be hard to understand until you start kind of experiencing it. But if you wanted, if you all want something to really kind of set the tone, instead of going and to see another chiropractor or do all that, um, write this down. If you guys are writing it down, or if you're going to listen to this again, anything by Fred Barge, Barge. Fred Barge he has a book called Life Without Fear. He has another book called Are You the Doctor? He's got lots of it. But those two books in general, I have those. They were laying here on my desk. I've read them both half a dozen times in 26 years. But I will get them out every now and then and reread them because you got to constantly bathe in our profession to stay sharp. I'm one of the kind of the outliers, even in our own profession. I'm a little weird about things because I don't, I've seen 300 patients in a day. I collect over $1 million a year. I have all this success in chiropractic, but that didn't just happen, right? It's a work ethic, right? You watch anybody at a high level of anything they do. You watch I don't know, Michael Jordan, in basketball. He didn't just practice once a month, right? All the way through his career, it was a constant work. Or any high level in any profession, there is a constant bathing in that profession, always, and you can't stop. And so I'm always doing it. But if you'll get
But
those
hold
two
on, hold
books,
on. Not to cut you
yeah.
off, but if you want to raise the bar, what is a respectable amount of time and energy that somebody should be putting into these different areas of training? Like, how much time did you actually put in the time where you were really building up? Because we want to shorten the learning curve, right? So it's
Yeah.
like getting specific on deliberate practice and focused effort. Like, how much time? I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. I imagine you wake up really early too. The
Yep.
point is like we're up, we have the time, we have the attention right there to give to ourselves first and foremost. So
Yep.
how would you recommend somebody gives to themselves if they're choosing to become a chiropractor? And we're saying it's a long road, it's a journey, but the more you stay deliberate in your focus and your practice, I'm just curious, can we set a bar? And obviously it's going to be different for everybody, but I'm just curious, for you being an outlier, we do want to kind of raise up what the standards are that we're expecting a student to really dedicate themselves to if they're going to become a chiropractor.
So the question, great question. So the question I will ask you or anyone else: what do you want? I mean, what do you want out of it? It's like anything else. If you want to run a marathon, do you just get up and stretch every day, or do you get out and freaking run? It depends on what you want back. What kind of practice do you want? What kind of success in your life do you want? For me, it's daily, every day, every day. And when I say about every day, there may be days that I spend the majority of the day doing it. There are other days I may spend 15 minutes. I don't even have any of my books read, but I may spend 15 minutes, 10 minutes, get up first thing in the morning and read for 15 minutes before I got everything else in my life I need to do. but I find at least 10 or 15 minutes every day to read, listen. I mean, when I'm driving, I'm listening to podcasts or I'm listening to, an audio book. I'm constantly, and here's the thing, gang, to be a successful chiropractor, it really starts with you. You got to be a successful person. To be a really successful chiropractor, you got to have a level of empathy and understanding of the human condition. You got to really love other people. I mean, not just, I get asked that all the time. Say, Doc, how do you, I don't understand. I mean, I get asked this by my friends. We've never seen anything like it. You truly love everybody. How do you do that? And I've always had the same question. Well, how do you not? I mean, I'm in love with humans. I mean, God gave me this gift of chiropractic. He didn't say just whoever you like. He serve. And for your question, Ben, gang, it's daily. But it didn't have to be. You will, just like I said at the beginning of this, you will absolutely get back what you put in. And if you get up every day on a mission, I will be the best chiropractor that I could humanly be. I will, because I have a saying, and I tell people all the time, good enough is not good enough in this profession, in my opinion. That's why I'm the outlier, because I have pushed myself, because it's not good enough. You think about it, Ben, and all of you listening, if you guys have not are a patient, you're a chiropractic patient, and you get in your car and you drive like some of my patients, 3-4 hours one way to get to my office. Do you want somebody that's just going to go through the motions of this? Okay, he's all right. No, you want to go to the best. You want to go to the very best chiropractor. You want to go to the best dentist. You want to go to the best neurosurgeon. You don't. I need hip replacement. Well, this guy's pretty good. No, you're going to say who's the best? Well, this guy, he's the best. Well, how did he become the best? Ben, he became the best because he busted his ass. There's a work ethic that is lost in this profession, and I'm going to be honest with you, gang. There is a work ethic that is lost. You have to work. You have to work on you as a human being. You got to work on your character. You got to work on your convictions. You got to work on your mission, your goals. And it can't be when you have time. You make time, right? No one's coming to save you. And then once you understand, and it starts right now. I promise you, if it doesn't, you're going to have a hell of a tough time getting through this school and getting through what you need to go. But once you get into profession, once you get into practice, then I'm not going to say there's not a day. I've been doing this a long time. I get up and sometimes I've got to remove myself from it. But man, it's because I stay in it so much. But when I was building, man, when I was from when I was struggling as a chiropractor, just barely able to put any food on the table for my family to where I'm at now, that those lean years, 7 days a week. If my wife was sitting here, she would tell you, relentless, obsessed, absolutely obsessed. I was obsessed with success. I was obsessed with learning my art. I wanted to be the best adjuster that there had ever walked on this planet. I wanted to reach everybody. I wasn't afraid to talk to anybody. I would walk up to a stranger. Who's your chiropractor? I don't see a chiropractor. Well, now you do. And then give them a card. I mean, I had no problem with that because and it wasn't about me. I think this is the biggest thing, Ben, that we need to hit on. It isn't
Mhm.
about me. Hell, if it was just about me, I could live in a tent back in the hills. That's where I was raised. Actually, I'm pretty comfortable, just being by myself in the hills. It ain't about me. You get guys, listen. The reason you're watching this in the first place is because you were called to be here. You're taking your time and your energy. This isn't by accident. Ben, you didn't start this by accident. This is no just random thing that happened. You were called, and this calling is huge. But in order to, but if you're gonna accept that call, be prepared, be ready for what's to come, because you're gonna have to put into work, and it at times it's a grind. It is a grind, Ben. I get up with you 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting right here. I'm putting in my time. Then I get my work in. Then I get my get my nutrition in, and then I go to the office, and it is game on. When I hit that office, the average chiropractor sees, they say 130 a week, 100 to 130 patients a week. Hell, I do that in the first 3 hours. And it game on. But the reason I can do that, the reason after all these years that I've brought myself to this level is because I've busted my ass and I've worked hard every single freaking day. You search. It's a constant search. I have a close friend of mine. He's one of the richest people I know, most successful multi millionaire. He's a real estate mogul. And he said, I've never seen, he said, you are a seeker of knowledge. I've never seen anybody that wants to know. I said, to a degree, I want to know about what I do. I could really care less about anything else. These guys, they have Harleys and they can tell you what the compression of the strokes are. They can tell you what all the crap that, it's a Harley. I don't care. But ask me something about chiropractic. And then it's game on. Now now ask me something about how the body heals itself. Now it's game on. What's the bigger picture of being a successful chiropractor? How does that happen? Work ethic, learning. But you don't learn by just reading a book and then walking away and think you got it, man. It is a constant. It's like staying in shape, Ben. People go to the gym and they don't work out once a month and think I got this. You go to the gym constantly. You're constantly, if you really want to be in shape, it's a constant, and you don't quit, right? As soon as you quit working out, what happens? Well, as soon as you quit training in this profession, the same things. You get fat and lazy in your brain, you're fat and lazy in your practice, and then your life becomes fat and lazy. But if you want a lean, mean machine, you want a very in shape, healthy, successful life and practice, you got to put in the work. And it doesn't just happen. It does not just happen. And right now, where you guys are listening to this right now, man, make that commitment. If you want to be hugely successful in your life, this profession is for you. Understand it, but be ready to work. Be ready to get up early and ready to stay up late 7 days a week until you make your dreams happen. And then what you do is you refine all that into a tighter niche. But for right now, you got to understand it's game on. I hope that is what you were looking for.
Honestly, you just keep touching on the foundations. Like in this program, this pre-Chiro program, it's really just like everything you're sharing throughout this interview is really, to me, speaking a lot to module one, which is really just like know that you know who you are, what the best path for you is. Once you align with that path, be committed and be dedicated to being the best version of you down that path. And it's going to take work. It's going to be hard, and chiropractic's not for everybody. And I don't care if more chiropractors come out of this pre-chiro project or there's less people attracted. It's really about being real, that you need to show up and you need to be ready for those uncomfortable days, those difficult moments, because they
Yeah.
come early and often, for sure. I know for me, just like you, I have comfort going up to strangers and talking to them about chiropractic. And like you, it's not about me. Somebody told me in school that they started their practice just by standing on the corner and talking to everybody as they walk by. Who's your chiropractor? Well, I would love to be your chiropractor. If I could take care of you or your family, let me know. That is the energy that was given to me to just have the confidence to go to other countries by myself with just my chiropractic table and make things happen, or show up in a city that I know nobody in, walk the streets and just make it happen. And so I agree with you, and I think that there is another level to this that in practice that I have yet to really step into, and I'm excited for that, because there are levels to this. I'm only 8 years into practice, but
Oh yeah.
as you know, there's so many levels to chiropractic practice, and it comes back to what do you want. And you can tell yourself certain things and stay in a holding pattern where you just stay comfortable throughout your whole professional experience, and that's not necessarily where you grow. And I think what you're saying is I'm inviting you outside of that comfort zone and inviting you to really take it seriously, to the utmost seriousness, so that you could be there for the people, because it really is about the people that we serve. So I just want to thank you for sharing like those fundamentals and those foundational things. If I could just touch really quickly on some of these further down the path, once you've like really committed to that, like that's what I was trying to tease out of you. Of like module two is really like, what are the specific skill sets that you need to develop, whether it's communication or whether it's entrepreneurship or adjusting or being able to think like a chiropractor and being able to communicate. But it translates into being in a chiropractor's office, and the apprenticeship model is like, how do you show up in a chiropractor's office and really get the most out of that experience, right? Because there's so much on the back end and the front end to take in, and to the untrained mind, you're not really aware of what you're not aware of when it comes to how a chiropractor's designed the experience for you to have. And I think having a pre-chiro student really get the opportunity and be given the advantage of seeing like how did this chiropractor set this up? Like, what is the mind behind the design? So that's the third module, and then the fourth module is like, okay, you've experienced getting adjusted, you've experienced getting care, you've studied the chiropractic principles and understand the skill set. Now it's time for you to go and apply this. So it's like start your own pre-chiro hub, I'm calling it, or your pre-chiro practice on your college or high school campus. Like start your own thing
Yeah.
in your community and experience how hard that can be. And then the fifth one is your independent study. You can study whatever based on the experiences you've had up until this point. Like this is your capstone, kind of like your thesis in undergrad. And then the sixth one is like getting ready for school and getting ready to transition into the identity of being a chiropractic student. But I just wanted to touch on that to give you context of really the different levels that I'm touching on.
Which is great. And what's great about it is, when I went through school, see, I didn't have any of that stuff. I was called, I went to school. I didn't know anything about philosophy. I didn't know anything about success or money or, I mean, that wasn't even my purpose. My purpose was just to be a chiropractor. And I had to, and of course, I'm kind of my personality, I'm a fighter. I have a strong work ethic, but I'm just a fighter. I don't quit. I get knocked down. I failed a few classes and I had some bumps along the way, but you just get back up and I get through. My daughter is a perfect example of what you're talking about. She was raised in chiropractic. It's all she's ever known, but she didn't want to be a chiropractor. I mean, she didn't want to do what dad did until about her sophomore year in high school. And then it was revealed to her that, yes, this is my path. Well, then she goes to Oklahoma University, OU. What does she do? She starts the first, and I've got so many friends that went to school at OU. She started the first pre-chiropractic program at OU. She went to the administration. She put this thing in action. She started holding meetings, pre-chiropractic meetings, kind of like this webinar. She did that, and her very first meeting, I showed up to talk, and she had all the stuff. No one showed up. It broke my heart to see her, but then she went back the next day. We had one person, and then five, and then pretty soon we had 15 or 20 young students from OU that heard about it. They showed up, and I show up to give this same message, and I told them the same thing I'm telling you. Don't go into this thinking it's just going to be another job. It's not. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, and you got a lot of work to do. And most of them like, yeah, no, I don't think that's for me. But there's three or four that I know right now that they're actually practicing and they're doing great because they did hear the message. And so you're right, Ben. There's levels that you go through that you're going to have to translate. But I think probably the first thing is, and I see this a lot. There's so many chiropractic students going to chiropractic school that have never been to a chiropractor. They've never been adjusted. Oh my goodness. How do you even know what that you want to be a chiropractor? I mean, just because I actually talked to a young doctor last week. The only reason he went because his uncle was a chiropractor. He had never been adjusted. He had never been to a chiropractor. But Uncle Mitch make a lot of money. I think I'll go do that. And so he kind of having a tough time. I'm trying to walk him through, and basically I'm telling him the same thing I'm telling every one of you. And he's been in practice for 5 years, still struggling because he never got it. So I'm going to say for what you're talking about, these different modules is perfect. Prepare yourself, but I think first of all, be a chiropractic student or be a chiropractic patient. Uh, get under chiropractic care. Find a good chiropractor. Find a successful one. Um, you know, and how do you determine that? Well, there's a lot of different ways. Just kind of be careful with it. I had here recently, well, a couple years ago, I had a wife of a chiropractor call me and ask if I would talk to her son about being a chiropractor because her husband was so miserable. He wasn't doing well that her son didn't want to do what dad did. He didn't want to be miserable either. So she wanted me to talk to him. Well, that kind of broke my heart. I'm like, this is awful. So be careful who you listen to, first of all. But what you're saying, Ben, is absolutely be prepared. This profession is, and it is the most amazing profession on the planet. It just is. There's nothing like it. There's nothing that will give you the rewards that this profession will give you. And I shouldn't even say give you. There's nothing like this profession that will reward you back to what you give it. It is, you put in 10%, it'll give you 100. You put in 100, the sky's the limit. But this whole thing that we've been talking about, Ben, it is not an easy road. It will not be easy. It will be a challenge. You will be required to do work inside and outside. You will be required to learn a tough technique and learn to use your hands. I work with students all the time. Some are ready to graduate that are just baffled. They're not sure what to do with their hands. It's going to be a lot of work. But if you put in the work, if you're committed, I mean, truly committed, if you truly have the passion for being a successful healer, it will give you everything. But it is inside school, it is outside school. It is 7 days a week. It is not a job. It is not a job. It's a calling and it's a lifestyle. And when you commit to that, sky's the limit. There's nothing that can stop you. There just isn't. But surround yourself with those who have done the same thing. It's like
Mhm.
anything else. Surround yourself with those who do. And you can kind of alluded to that, Ben. It's not good enough is not good enough. It just isn't. I mean, you could go through life like that. I know a lot of chiropractors that they just got to go through things, and they have a comfortable lifestyle,
Mhm.
and they pay their bills. And but I also know chiropractors have been in practice for as long as I have, and they're still paying their student loans off. Because that's that good enough attitude, and I just don't believe that's appropriate. Um,
Mhm.
Not only not is it appropriate for you and your family, it's not appropriate for patients. You're getting ready to serve. See, here's the thing, gang. Chiropractor. Here's where we're different. You're going to have to take these and lay hands on. You are going to be responsible for what you do. Now, if you're a medical doctor, you can write a script and hand it to them, and that's the drug's fault. It's not my fault. It's the drug's fault. Your body didn't react properly. If you're a surgeon, you did the surgery and it didn't work. Well, it's not my fault. I did the surgery, right? Now, you're a chiropractor. It is your fault, right? You are responsible for everything that you do. So understand that. Don't go into this because it's a job. It is not a job. It's not a job. It is a calling. It is a God. It's just there's so much more than that. But you got to be prepared for it, Ben.
Mhm. Mhm. Hey, I want to thank you for your energy and just be mindful of your time. I know that you have a lot going on. Can we just wrap this up by you just sharing some of the different things that you're involved with, some of the resources that you've been able to develop for students? And also, can you just really quickly touch on the Oklahoma Chiropractors Association? Because I believe that our state associations are crucial to developing the pre-Chiro ecosystem
Absolutely.
of having there be mentor placement. You said finding the right chiropractor could be challenging. And I think one of the gifts we want to give to pre-Chiro students is to really help them find the right chiropractor so that we know that they're stepping foot in a chiropractor's office. But can you just touch on some of your resources and some of what you are up to with the Oklahoma Chiropractors Association?
Absolutely. So in every state, so in the United States, in every state, each individual state has their own state association, and each association, and they're responsible for basically helping the chiropractor within the state. They're kind of, there's a state board which they're responsible for protecting the public, and then the state association is protecting the chiropractor. Well, part of the thing that we have to do also as the state association is there is we have to do continuing education. So once you get your degree, every year you'll have to have 16, 18, 20, depending on the state, so many hours of continuing education. And every healthcare professional has to do that. Well, with Oklahoma, I actually started our state. We had one, but I started another one about 7 years ago. The Oklahoma Chiropractors Association, and you can find that online. Oklahoma Chiropractors Association. You can go online, and there's a whole website and all that. And we like when you if you come to Oklahoma, when you have to as a new doctor, you'll actually have to take one of my classes. So, there's a bunch of us that do that. It's called it's a new doctor orientation. So we work with that. But the state association is designed to help doctors be successful or help them navigate this stuff, and that's what we do. So that's why I started it. Also, again, focus. If you go, here's the thing. If you want my help, I'm going to just put it out there for you guys. You can either go on Facebook and just, Tim Young, Dr. Tim Young. You can find me. I'm pretty easy to find. It's open page. Or go to Focus OKC. It stands for Oklahoma City. FocusOKC.com. Go to the website, and there's my adjusting seminars. I had students. I had a student come to one of my student adjusting seminars when he was an undergrad. He hadn't even started chiropractic school yet in Davenport, Iowa. This kid is right now in Try 3 BIM, and he can adjust better than a lot of doctors in the field. He's taken my
Mhm.
class 3 times since undergrad. So those resources. But here's what I was going to tell you guys: if you'll either go on Messenger and send me a message or email me at it's called movingbones at yahoo.com. VNBONZ, Moving Bones at yahoo.com. Send me an email, message me. Tell me where you're at. Tell me what city you're in, what state you're in. I'll find you somebody. I know the chiropractors in every single state of this country, every single state. And here's the thing, I know chiropractors in almost every country. So if you're listening to this from another country, I can help find them a successful chiropractor, someone that will actually go out of their way to help you, to mentor you, to show you the truth about what's really going on instead of, what I'm talking about. So just reach out to me. So focusokc.com, moving bones at yahoo.com, or just message me on Messenger and I will help you find the right, and I'll give you the right resources. I'll give you the right books to read. I'll give you the right people to talk to. Hell, I'll talk to you. I'll
Hmm.
I go to lunch. I mean, you're right, Ben. I've got a lot going on in my world. But if a student reaches out to me, patients, Dr. Young, think about being a chiropractor. Would you have time for me? I take them to lunch. I spend all lunch with them, and they get all this right. Everything we just talked about, they're getting it. And I've had in 26 years, I've had, I think, over 60 of my students go to chiropractic school. I'm pretty proud of that, and they're all doing well. Because they understood when they come to see me, this is what an adjustment is. This is what it feels like. This is what I feel like. This is how this practice works. So they have a better understanding. So anything I can do for you all, anyone listening to this, I am an open book. I will do everything I can to help you because ultimately, if you decide to go down this path, you are coming into the profession that I love so dearly. And the last thing I want is you to come in and be unsuccessful or fail. I want you to be hugely successful. Matter of fact, I want you to replace me. Come in and take over. This is what we're looking for as leaders. And if you decide you're going to be a chiropractic leader, reach out and I'll help in any way I can.
Perfect, perfect. Interview is over. Do you have any questions about the project before we get off with each other? I'm just curious, like, is there anything that came up for you while we were having this type of dialogue with this audience? Because I believe it's a new question that's been asked of how can we serve our pre-Chiro students better?
I think, I love what you're doing. I really think, honestly, because I have a coaching group, right? It's Focus Foundations, and I have, God, 300 doctors in 20 different countries. And they all see, not only am I working with them all the time, they see me doing my other stuff with the students and the prospective students, and they all want to know how do we help? How do we reach them? And there's, gosh, and I think that's really a mentorship program. If that's something that that you're interested, let me know. I man, I could get you 20, 30, 40 doctors like that would be wide open to phone calls or emails or interviews like this. They'd be glad to help. And I really think that the profession, they want to help, they just don't know how. Right? They're busy with their lives, they're raising their families, they got kids activities, they got all these different
Yeah.
things. So did I. So did I. Did it anyway. But I think that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of chiropractors that want to help people that you all that are watching this, what you're doing, Ben. I think if we get more people involved, just kind of a mentorship or just a guide, I think that would be huge to a huge benefit to help everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for making the profession better. I think that this vehicle, this pre-Chiro project, is just a vehicle to make the profession better. I think if you look at other professions, not that we're trying to be like them, not that we're trying to do it like them, but they all have infrastructure. They
Yeah.
all have millions of dollars invested in a pre-Chiro associate, or not a pre-Chiro association, a pre-med association. They have an international pre-med association. They have different subcommittees within the context of pre-med or pre-physical therapy. So they're, whether we like it or not, they're marketing to the same students that would have been chiropractors had they known the truth or had it been represented to them in true form. And so you just kind of sharing what you just shared, I'm hoping to bring that same energy and bring your voice to 100,000 different people that are thinking of becoming healthcare providers and not sure what they want to do. I think that the more that we represent chiropractic, and I know you're right 100%, it is a calling, but I think that we've used for decades that message that chiropractic finds you, you don't find chiropractic.
Absolutely.
And we need to bring that energy of like, okay, here, like, get chiropractic to the masses, you know what I mean? Like, let's reach new audiences. So anyway, I just want to thank the work that you do for the profession, and I'm hoping to bring the profession to the people so that we can really just fill up the right schools with the students that have a higher probability of success because they did tap in with you before school. You talk about that third trimester student that can already adjust better than most docs. And I just think of, a student that when I transferred schools was sitting next to me in orientation. He was adjusting before he got to school. And so me and him were in the side room every day practicing and training. And that's leveled us up to a place where, he's teaching seminars around the world adjusting, and here I am. And so I just, I know that the probability of success would increase if we just created some more infrastructure. So that's what we're doing. And I appreciate you offering your resources in regards to mentors. I think it's coming down, it's coming really soon. We just need to get, we need to get some financial backing to really develop this as an organized, established sort of, there needs to be people working on this thing. So
Oh, absolutely. I just got contacted by one of our huge leaders in the profession. They're starting a new. It's the chiropractic. Was it? Oh, Defense Council, and basically it's a group of chiropractors, successful chiropractors coming together that is going to help protect the profession. In Canada they're trying to take away X-ray rights, and in Australia they're trying to take away pediatric rights, and
right.
and in this country, so you all know chiropractors, young we're chiropractic always has been a little bit under the gun from other professions, the medical profession and the pharmaceutical profession. They don't like what we do because we take patients away from them, right?
Hmm.
Excuse me. So as a profession, we got to take care of each other. But with what you're doing, as we want you coming into the profession. We want you guys a part of this. But you have to understand it to be a part of it. It everything we talked about. It's not. Here's the thing. I hear this a lot. Well, I wanted to go to medical school, but the MCATs are too hard, and it's easier to get in chiropractic school. Yes, maybe it will be. Maybe it will be a little bit easier to get into the school, but once you get out of school, the medical doctors, they just get to go into a practice, man. They're under an insurance, they go into a group. They go to residency, they just get a funnel to them, hand right to them. You don't get ready. You're gonna get out of school and they're gonna go here. And so what you're talking about through this whole thing, everything that you do to prepare yourself for when you step out is going to make the difference of success and failure. It's not the same. So don't think just because chiropractic school is easier to get into that it's easier to get into because it's not. There's a whole different other group of challenges, but the infrastructure that you're talking about and the mentorship and all the things that you guys are preparing for right now, everything that you do to prepare yourself now, even before you start chiropractic, get through your undergrad, then to pick the right school. Then once you're in school, just the work you're doing in school is not enough. You're going to have to do that outside work, and then you keep creating. Then when you get out, you graduate, you step across that stage, you get your license. Now the work really begins. Now it's a whole different ball game. Now you've got life to deal with. It's called adulting. It's not fun, and and all these things coming together. But right now, setting the tone to get the right people into the profession. This is a beautiful thing you're doing, Ben. That we can do this, and I'll do anything I can to help.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Young. You keep doing your thing. We'll be in touch. We'll collaborate in some way in the near future. I hope so.
I appreciate you, Ben. Anything I can do, you let me know.
Absolutely.